Even someone who is accustomed to the magnificence of the mountain scenery above the Rosenlaui Valley is impressed by the Wellhorn and Dossen Mountains on the way to the glacier. Violent waterfalls thunder down the valley and evade the glacier, the basis of its life, the ice. The glacier melts unceasingly and releases water that has been bound in the glacier for thousands of years. Powerful waterfalls have consumed themselves through the Rosenlaui Gorge and leave behind a breathtaking canyon, which always offers a view of the curvy gorge. Smaller and larger waterfalls fall from all sides into the deep ravine and wash the rocks into fascinating structures. After the glacial gorge, one follows the wild Rosenlaui stream up a steep path through the forest, past the lush green, lonely alpine pastures, always surrounded by a huge mountain panorama. Above the tree line, the landscape becomes less green, and the image is determined by rocky terrain. Sheep and wild animals share the fewer plants, which nevertheless thrive gorgeously between the rocks. Where the glacier once cut its furrows into the rock and left countless rocks behind it, begins the part of the ascent where one must be more careful. At any time, parts of the glacier can break off and fall to the valley. A steep path on the rocks leads up to the glacier tongue, with always the glacier in the eye to be armed should it come to a sudden ice break.
After a strenuous climb of almost 2 hours, we have come close to our goal, the glacier tongue. From here, it is still 100 meters to the glacier tongue. We must carefully approach the glacier tongue and choose the path well because of the uneven terrain and the many rocks left behind by the glacier when it melted away. We always keep an eye on the glacier because an ice break could happen any time. Let's go and have a closer look at the glacier.
In the middle of these mighty mountains glows the Rosenlaui Glacier above the valley. The sun has already warmed up the rocky terrain, and the glacier tongue slowly comes into view. Between the 1940s and the 1980s, hikers were killed several times by ice breaks at the Rosenlaui Glacier. By approaching the glacier tongue, one becomes aware of how powerful this glacier lies between the mountains. The glacier tongue looks as if it wanted to cling to the rock to defy the melting away. Massive ice masses block the further way upwards. Here, there is no more going through. Too big is the danger of being killed by ice breaks. By gravity, a glacier is in constant motion. When the terrain under a glacier gets steeper, or the glacier turns around a curve, the ice breaks and deep glacier clefts are formed. Depending on the mass of the ice and steepness of the terrain, ice breakings can occur at any time. Glaciers have a great weight. Due to the gravity, the slope, and the subsoil, the glacier slides with its rock base on a thin meltwater film. Deep glacial clefts slope downwards at steep places. It is a matter of time when parts of these ice masses will break off the glacier and thunder to the valley. Entering the glacier cleft area of the Rosenlaui Glacier would be too dangerous. With the help of a camera drone, such areas can be safely flown over and filmed. These images show impressively how a mass of ice on the rock is waiting to be pushed down by gravity. Despite its mighty appearance, the icy giant is dying. The ice melts constantly, and so slowly the water sources for man and beast in the valley disappear. Emerald green flows the melting water day and night out of the ice, and first flows into a glacial lake. Through deep furrows in the rock, the water continues to flow downwards and suddenly disappears into a gap in the rock. Later, the rock releases the Rosenlaui stream, where it flows into the Rosenlaui Gorge. In the summer, sheep herds migrate up the glacier tongue and feed on grasses and flowers that grow defiantly between the rocks. These sheep rarely see humans at this height and are often very confident. After the excursion to the glacier tongue, the sheep return to their alpine pasture under the Rosenlaui Glacier. The area around the Rosenlaui Valley and the surrounding glacier could not be more breathtaking. Mountains, forests, alpine pastures, roaring waterfalls, and not least the glaciers determine the unadulterated nature